So let's dive into that shell to get started with working with our models and to see that Python code which we would use. For this, from book outlet.models, I'll import author and I'll import address because these are the two models I want to work with here. Let's also import book in case we should need it. And then we can get started. Now we got a couple of authors already. If we access author objects all, we see we do have 3 authors already, but they don't have an address yet. If I, for example, access the first author, which is J.K. Rowling, and I access the address, we see that nothing is stored in there, because that author was created before we added the address and set up the connection between address and author. Now, that won't be a problem though. Let's start by adding a couple of new addresses. So here we can add our first address by instantiating address, just as we did it before as well with the other models. And then we need to assign these 3 properties, these 3 fields as keyword arguments here. So we set the street to some street. We set the postal code to some random number. And we set city to London, for example. And now we got this address added, and of course we can also add another address to by instantiating this again and setting the street to another street, the postal code to 67890, and the city to New York. Now I got 2 addresses. They haven't been saved to the database yet, so that's what I'll now do. Call save on address 1 and call save on address 2. And once they have been saved to the database, we can assign them as related models to other data entries. Before they were saved, you can't do that, and you would get an error there. Not just for one-to-one relationships, but for all kinds of relationships. You need to save the model to which you want to connect another model before you can do so. But with that, we could now connect J.K. Rowling to address 1. For that, I'll again get access to her by using author objects get, where the first name is equal to J.K. And then we can simply set address, this address field, which currently is empty, equal to address 1. Again, just by doing that, we're not hitting the database. But I can now call save, and the author will be saved back to the database, but now with that connection to the address. And that's, of course, pretty convenient. Now, it's the same as if we would have created a brand new author by instantiating author and setting address 2 here, or address 1 here. There we do it for a brand new author. By setting address to that address property on an existing author, we simply update an existing author and add this address. That's what I did here. Therefore, now if I access jkr.address, we get access to that related address object. And then here we can, for example, access the street if we want to. And we also have access to the inverse. I can simply use address objects all, and then maybe get access to the first address, and there access an author field, which I mentioned a couple of minutes ago would be created automatically by Django. This gives you access to the other side of the relation, so from the related model. It gives you access to the author from the addresses point of view. So here you see that's my author, and of course I can then also access data like the first name on the author if I wanted that. So that's how we can work with relations here in the shell. It's the same as before with one-to-many, because for our query commands and how we work with it, it doesn't really matter which kind of relation it is. The only difference is probably how we access the related model, that we do that on author instead of author set or anything like that, because it is just one author since it's one-to-one. But other than that, it's the same. Therefore, let's now also see how we can manage this in the admin panel.